exhausted, outnumbered, obviously in pain. And you still beat all of my students. If I didn't have to kill you, we'd be pals. Let's do this.
It's extras and epilogues. Open the theater. Lights, cameras, action. Movies and reviews, things you might not have known. What happens when the credits roll? Let's get on with the show.
The world's greatest assassin is on the run after killing a member of his international guild, and with a $14 million price tag on his head, he is everyone's target. No, we're not talking about that foil surge squall card from the new Final Fantasy Magic the Gathering deck. We're talking about John Wick as we continue June Wick all month long on Extras and Epilogues. And that is the show you are currently listening to, Low Energy. My name is Shannon Young. The theater is open once again. We're recording this on a special day, so it's not like usual where we'll watch it, record it, and then the next week we'll do the next movie. No, we've done 2 John Wick movies almost back to back this week, and those things get longer and longer with every film. So, tonight is John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum, which I didn't realize is the prepare for war part. I should have known that. Why should I have known that? I can't speak that language. Well, let's be fair to me. Point is, I don't speak Latin. I barely speak in English. Here to talk to me about it tonight, of course, we have the card master, Double H.
Oh, okay, Shannon. You made your point. You earned my fealty. Matter of fact, I'm going to shove so much fealty up your ass, it's going to come spilling out your mouth.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Also with us tonight, the holder of the card I want, it's Stephen Bright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was so mad. Mad.
I'm pissed off. John, you feeling pissed off? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's been a wild journey with our friend John Wick this week. On every week, it started off so well with John Wick 1, Chapter 1, or was it was just called John Wick? It was just called John Wick.
It's just called John Wick.
Yeah. And then John Wick Chapter 2 we reviewed last week, technically, and a little bit of mixed feelings on that. I thought it was still good, but I saw some chinks in the armor, if you know what I mean. Steven actually changed his mind from when he watched it the first time and liked it less.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And Hunter was just very middle. It was okay. Where do we go from there? Where do we go from there? Well, we go to Parabellum, John Wick Chapter 3. And is it better? Did they fix the logic? Did they add
those are not mutually exclusive answers.
Hunter, did they add pointless CG? Let's find out. Let's jump into it. As a joke, I thought about just inserting what we said about John Wick 2 and changing some of the words and just using that, because a lot of my complaints about that film are valid here. But
use the Mr. Black voice from The Simpsons and just go 3 instead of John Wick Chapter 2. John Wick Chapter 3.
Replace what was his name? You don't even know. Scary Antonio or whatever. Scartonio. What was his name?
Scary Antonio. Well, hang on.
Santino.
Yes. Replace him.
D'Antonio. Santino D'Antonio.
Replace him with the Judicator, who I hated. Anyway.
I think that was the point.
Let's get let's get to the stats. Released May 17th, 2019. Directed once again by Chad Stileski. Written once again by Derek Kolstad. Shay Hatton, who also did Army of the Dead and Rebel Moon. And boy, there's some things to pin on your hat. But hey, also Chris Collins, who did The Sopranos, The Wire, and Sons of Anarchy. That's the balance we talk about in The Force.
He wrote some episodes of those shows. He wasn't with any of them the entire time. The real story here is that, again, up to now, no one else has been directing or writing the series. Stileski is still getting his solo directing credit, but Kolstad is not. And I've said it a million times, the more writers you get in the mix, the more concerning the problem was going to be. And I think we're starting to see that be the case. I don't know why this needed multiple writers. I don't know if it needed several rewrites or what, but it feels like it. It reads like it. It watches like it. And I could tell before I even wrote that down that was the case.
Especially while you would get the guy from Army of the Dead and Rebel Moon. I have not seen Rebel Moon for the record, so I try not to make fun of things or shit on things that I've never seen. Some stuff is so notoriously bad or objectively bad, you could kind of go, yeah, that's terrible. And Rebel Moon is absolutely that. I mean, from everything I've heard from most critics and most people that have watched it, it's not good. Army of the Dead,
it ain't great.
I have seen Army of the Dead, and I didn't hate it, but it was way too long. It was just to give a quick review. It was way too long. It was way too flashy, and it was way too pointless. Have you seen Army of the Dead with Batista?
I have, and the way you just described that movie is sounding awfully fucking familiar.
All right. So not to give my review away, but I liked this movie so much more than Army of the Dead, and that's not to say that this movie is going to get a perfect review. It's just Army of the Dead was that boring.
Well, I'm also not disagreeing because you've got a built-in character here.
Right.
You've got a built-in mythology for some things. And again, it is just generally a better movie. But a lot of the criticisms you just lobbied at this one are going to be very accurate for this one too. Do
you put that on the same writer? Or do you think he's just a part of the problem, but he didn't bring it. He's just part of it.
I think this is too big of a machine to blame on one individual failing. But I do think it is interesting that the guy who, again, wrote those movies then gets the same kind of criticism on two different movies. Yeah, because they're both. I mean, yeah, you're right. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence. Let's put it that way.
I'm surprised this movie wasn't directed by Michael Streamer, or what's his name? Michael Bay. Not Michael Bay.
Michael Streamer.
Not Michael Bay. What's the guy's name?
Who did Army of the Dead? I can't remember now. It is Michael Bay, isn't it?
No, it's
no. It's Snyder?
Snyder. Zack Snyder. That's right.
Snyder. It is Zack Snyder.
He did both of them. And again, Zack Snyder, look, I know this isn't a talk about Zack Snyder, but I just have to say this. That is a guy, you talk about an up and down relationship. I love Dawn of the Dead. I thought he did a great job with Dawn of the Dead. And I've always wanted to like his movies. I liked Justice League. I think I'm one of the few people that really liked Justice League. And I really did. I love Zack Snyder's Justice League. I think it's great. But then he did Rebel Moon, and I'm like, okay, I'm on board. Star Wars, but from Zack Snyder. Let's give it a try. And everything I saw, again, just looked bad. And I watched Army of the Dead, and it was bad. And then it was kind of like when I watched Malignant, and Jesse and I looked at each other, and I said out loud, I think James Wan might be a hack. I think Zack Snyder might be a hack. Look, that's all I'm saying. Let's get to the cast, because it's got a great cast, as all of these films had. Keanu Reeves is back, of course, as John Wick. Halle Berry is in there for some reason. I didn't mind it. I like Halle Berry. I like Halle Berry. I minded it. Well, I like Halle Berry. I didn't like her character.
Not as an actor. Yeah, okay, that's fair. I've never seen Halle Berry in anything that afterward I went, boy, I'm sure glad Halle Berry was in that. I don't understand the hype around her in any way, shape, or form. Don't get it.
She's put in some good performances. Monsters Ball is very good. It's an uncomfortable movie.
That's the one that I always hear is the big one. But I cannot think of a single thing I've seen her in that, again, afterward I was like, man, boy, what a good decision that was.
Catwoman. Oh, nope. Sorry. Is it Reverse Day? Opposite Day? No? Okay.
X-Men. Nope.
She had an accent for one movie. Ian McShane, who is the best part of the movie series at this point, I think, easily.
Yes.
Easily.
100%. Again, he puts on, I said this in the last one, he puts on a masterclass of chewing the scenery without dampening the movie in doing so.
Yes. There's a part in this film where, towards the end, and I don't want to spoil too much of it yet, but where he's sitting there and John, unlocks the vault and walks in. Is like, I need more firepower, and he just raises his glass and looks around. That's all he does. And that,
for the wall,
that simple movement was perfect. Like, so good. Lawrence Fishburne is back. He's better in this one than the last one. I will say that. I do think he's better.
Yeah, but if Ian McShane is the masterclass in how to chew the scenery and not fuck it up, Lawrence Fishburne is the exhibit A of how to fuck it up constantly. He is so over the top, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and a lot of that is on the dialogue, which again I found pretty cringeworthy through most of this movie, maybe worse than the last one.
There were parts of this movie, most of the dialogue didn't bother me, but there were parts of this movie, admittedly, that I just kind of went, oh, you're trying too hard, and we'll talk about that here in a second. Angelica Houston is in this. She is the director of the ballerinas, and that plays into the new film that just came out with Ana de Armas. Lance Reddick is back as Sharon, which I think they actually said his name towards the end was Sharon, if I remember correctly. Yeah,
I think the emphasis goes before, but it is Sharon. Yeah, but yeah, something like that.
And then probably my favorite casting, and I was very surprised he was in it. I was very happy. Mark Dacascos. I said this last night when we were talking. I'm a big Mark Dacascos fan, and I think the character is a little over the top, but I was just happy to see him in it because I know how good he can be. And sometimes it's like the Expendables. Any Expendables film I've ever watched, they're all bad. I'll just say it now. Every Expendable movie is bad. They're bad. But there is a joy.
I've never seen them. I've heard that it's very much a one or two thing. You either love it or you hate it.
They're basically John Wick, but take out the underworld assassin and insert just pro-military, like guns blazing. It's the same movie. It's the same movie. But it's fun sometimes to see your favorite actors in those movies because they're having a good time. It's good to see them. Wesley Snipes, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Terry Crews were in all those films, and that was for me this film with Mark Dacascos. I was very happy to see him in this movie, and that's your main cast. Of course, there's other people in it, but who cares? Runtime of 131 minutes. I'll be honest. When I thought we could review this at the right time, I skipped through some of the fight scenes because I'm like, I've seen this. He's just going to kill everybody. So it didn't feel as long to me because I skipped probably 10 to 15 minutes of just fighting. It was more like 5 to 10 minutes. But it is the longest one, and it's not the longest one for long.
So far.
Yeah.
So far. Look, I know we're not talking about the last one just yet. That last movie is 169 minutes long.
Let me.
That is almost 3 hours.
I'd like to take a moment and thank our good friend Pat Kennedy for reaching out to me and telling me that he's really enjoying our reviews of John Wick. And then he also said, I asked him if he was a fan. He said, I remember liking a couple of them. I don't remember which ones at this point. All I remember is that number 4 was, well, really fucking stupid. Get ready for some stormtrooper firefights where no one can hit anything. I have a feeling Hunter is going to hate it. So, and I replied,
I have not talked in so long, and yet he knows me so well.
I replied, Hunter hates everything.
That is not true.
That's not true.
That is not true.
That's not true. And he knew I was laughing. He knew I was kidding. He said, I'll be surprised if he sits through all of 4. He will sit through all of 4 because that's what we do on this show.
I will do it.
Yeah, yes. Regardless.
To date, I have never not sat through the entirety of the film, even if it's something I've seen before, even if it is something that I know I can't, like, it was painful to sit through The Dead Don't Die. That's the most recent one I can think of that it just like, and I have made a habit now, because in the early days I didn't do it. I've gotten into the habit of putting my phone in another room. I usually put it in our office where I record right now. I put it on the charger, let it charge for the show, because a lot of times I'm watching it the day of. The Dead Don't Die was the most, like, I was trying to use the force to bring that fucking thing to me on the couch. Like, just trying to, I wanted to look away so bad. It was so terrible. But I will, in 169 minutes, I'll sit through every fucking second's worth of it.
And there's no way it could be worse than The Dead Don't Die or Super Mario Brothers. Like, please God. Budget versus box office, $75 million. Also, I cannot make that claim that Hunter made. $75 million. I didn't watch a Goofy movie. I lied through that one. That's why I was so quiet during that show.
But you hated it.
Yeah.
You're not hated it, but you were so mad about people liking it.
Yeah, I sat back. I've peel the curtain back. $75 million versus $328 million.
Makes more sense now.
Yes.
I'm sorry. No, hang on. We can't gloss past that. No. It makes more sense now that you didn't like that people didn't like it, because you were like, fuck, I might have liked it if I'd actually sat and watched it.
I'm sure would have thought it was. I probably would have thought it was perfectly fine. I think I went with like a 1 up just on principle. Or maybe 1 up, 1 down. Like, I didn't want to depress Jesse. This movie made a lot of money, is the point. 75 million versus 328 million. They keep getting richer and richer as the movies go along. Critical reception, 89% critical rating on Rotten Tomatoes, 7.5 out of 10, 73 out of 100 on Metacritic, which is generally favorable. Cinema score of A- on an A to F scale. And boy, last week's quote was so good. I haven't read this one yet. I hope this one, continues the trend. Peter Sobzinski of RogerEbert.com gave the film 4 out of 4 stars and said it was, oh God, a work of pop cinema so blissfully, albeit brutally entertaining, that you come out of it feeling even more resentful of its multiplex neighbors for not making a similar effort. You're purposely finding these, aren't you? You're doing this on purpose.
I'm looking right now because we did it last week. I want to know what else came out at the same time as this movie.
Yeah.
Because I have to imagine it wasn't very good. And that has to have been the
part
problem
of it, just by comparison.
Yeah. So, okay, the AI overview from Google, which I'm starting to really hate more than ever, never gives me the exact same stuff that came out on the same weekend. Because the first thing it shows is Avengers Endgame, but that came out almost a full month before this movie. Detective Pikachu came out the weekend before. The live-action Aladdin came out the weekend after. So it was a big time at that time, but what came out that exact same weekend? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
On the same weekend. Let me just ask it.
Also, I disagree with Hunter on the AI. There it is. I love the AI overview because Hunter sent something the other day. We were talking about
Rick Moranis.
Yeah, where Rick Moranis was coming back to Spaceballs 2. And the AI overview answered at the bottom on the article that said Rick Moranis returning. It said, no, Rick Moranis will not be returning to Spaceballs. You idiot.
Because in an article in 2024, he said he wouldn't. He said he wouldn't do any more movies. So this makes more sense. On the same weekend as John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum, which premiered May 17, 2019, which we said earlier, only 2 other movies were released at in wide release. A Dog's Journey and The Sun is Also a Star. There it is.
How the box offices go for those? I'm sure it was close.
Not great. Wasn't great.
Well, yeah, they were against John Wick 3.
And he murdered him.
So when you say like, oh, the other its other neighbors in the cinema should have made a similar effort in the multiplex or whatever, I'm sorry.
A Dog's Journey.
Do you really think either of those movies were going to be able to pull that off? Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there were theaters that were still showing Endgame because, again, it was like less than a month before this. And they were gearing up for other stuff. There was one I just said came out like a week before this. So I'm sure that was a big deal.
Or Aladdin or one of them.
Yeah, so I'm sure that was still, Aladdin was afterward.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was still getting attention. But yeah, if this is the only thing that came out that weekend and people have already seen those other movies, of course it blew them out of the water. Are you kidding me?
Now, Stephen, we'll get a little trivia here. The title Parabellum, as I said earlier, comes from the Latin phrase. Hunter, go ahead. I'm not going to do it.
That is Sidis Pacem Parabellum. Parabellum is 2 words in Latin, which means prepare for war.
If you want peace, prepare for war. It's also an alternate name for the ubiquitous 9mm handgun cartridge, the 9mm Parabellum. Now, this is important because I don't know if it was on the air or off the air, Stephen took offense to me.
Off the air. It was off the air. Thank you very much.
He took offense to me saying, if you want peace, prepare for war, and he thought it was something else. But to be fair, I wasn't even quoting this movie. I was quoting The Punisher. And the fact that the exact same quote, which is a famous quote, it's not like it's not a famous quote or anything.
Yeah, right.
But it's in this too. And Stephen actually messaged me one night and was just like, sorry, it actually is this. And I was like, all good. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I did it as a joke. I wasn't serious. I knew you didn't care.
I didn't care. But it's still, after dealing with Hunter for so long, it's nice to have someone tell me, hey, you were right. All right, so let's talk about...
Also... Real quick, I looked it up because I was curious. Not that this is going to mean a whole lot to us. That quote was attributed to a Roman author and a general whose name, I shit you not, was Vegetius. It looks like Vegeta, but with an "ius" at the end.
Zach's going to eat that up.
In his treatise De Re Militari, which is on military matters. So the concept is older, but he's the one who popularized it sometime in the 4th or 5th century, apparently.
And then, obviously Frank Castle made it popular. and then John Wick
Sure.
took him.
Yeah, it was him.
And John Wick stole it.
Let's talk about this film now. And my first question, as I always question the John Wick films at this point, is so there's no police in New York, right?
None.
They just don't exist. Yeah.
Not only are there no cops in New York, the FBI apparently doesn't exist.
No.
There's no other like higher ranking authority that's able to
Well, not higher than the
track
table.
dead bodies.
The high table.
But there's a dude in the desert.
Well, he's
He'll
the
find
elder.
you if you just go and look up.
Or he won't. Or he won't.
So bad. This is how, and I said it earlier, that whole sequence is how I knew this movie had more than one writer. Even if I hadn't done the notes, I could have told you more than one person wrote this movie as compared to the previous ones. Because the previous ones are very consistent and very thorough. I mean, the second one, we talked about how there's like a clear delineation from the time he completes the contract to the time that he has to go on the run. But I could still see that coming from a single mind. This movie obviously had more than one person.
Oh.
I cut out.
Just for a second.
Yeah,
just for a second.
that's it. Let me. I'm going to turn my camera off just in case. I think that might help.
Okay.
Actually, I'll go to my other camera because sometimes my phone camera doesn't like when I use it like this. There we go. Okay. Anyway, that's how I could tell immediately that there were multiple writers for this thing. It was blatantly obvious because, again, it's all over the place. We're jumping around different places. We're doing different things that don't really seem to match up with the previous things. The rules kind of keep changing. It's like we talked about this when we watched Star Wars. I feel like I'm getting into my review way too early. When we watched the Star Wars sequels, and you could tell there wasn't a consistent through line between those three movies, this felt like the same thing was happening in one movie. This was like 2 or 3 movies combined, and that's why it's so fucking long, too. There's so many things happening in it.
Yeah, and this movie was very much, Steven, I don't know about you, because you said you were curious how you would feel about it after watching part 2. I thought this movie started off really strong with him making his getaway of the big fight scenes, including one, which, by the way, I said I skipped through some of the fights. Thank God I stopped skipping at the exact moment he slowly shoved a knife in a guy's eye. Thank God I saw that part, because what would I have done without that part? But it started off strong and it ended really strong. But the whole middle part where he goes to visit Halle Berry, they go to the desert, it felt so unnecessary. Like, I get they had a point. It had a point. It's technically, but the moment he went to visit the director, Angelica Houston, at the ballerina school or whatever. And yes, thank you. I couldn't think of the word ballet. And that's when you find out that what his real name is, apparently, or at least what they called him. And then also that he grew up there and was trained there. It's like every John Wick movie, they add more and more lore to it and I guess some people do like the lore. Don't get me wrong. I was going to say no one cares. That's completely untrue. There's a lot of people that really dig the lore of this film, but I just think it's too much. Like, you're adding so many pieces that makes you go, but what about the last time? The last movie, you didn't mention this or you didn't mention that. This movie was that in spades. And that kind of took me out of it. But if they had cut down that middle part to either be shorter or make, more goddamn sense, he just shoves that rosary in her face over and over again. And at least she says, don't show that to me. Yeah, like it's an explanation, like it's an answer. Yeah. But if they could have skipped out on that part, man, I think I would have liked it a little bit more.
I said it back in the first one that this felt like it was going to be, I used the phrase edgelord, and maybe that wasn't fair, but it is very much Harry Potter for dudes in their 20s, right? Like for like dudes who like guns in their 20s.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like, because there's all this little clandestine, like secretive, bullshit, and it wasn't that bad in the first one. There were some coins, and he was part of a group, and they did the thing. Although I had questions about how it worked, but they answer most of that in the first film. The more movies they make, the more things they have to tack on, because you already know now how a marker works, and you know how the coins work, and you know what it is they can do, where they go, and the Continental, and there's one on, different countries. There's one in Morocco. It feels like they keep having to add shit. So in the first one, it was just, there's a League of Assassins.
Yes.
And the second one, it was, okay, but there's a group of assassins, and they're better than the other assassins.
They're
called the High Table, and they're a big deal.
Right.
They're the ones that kind of run. And then you can sort of buy that. Like, okay, there's got to be somebody in charge in each place, and they're all kind of maybe eccentric. They're like mob bosses. You know, the Bowery King is sort of part of it, and whatever. By the third one, because the stakes have to keep getting higher and things have to keep getting bigger, and they've painted themselves into this corner of, again, it's when you make multiple movies or make multiple stories out of something that wasn't meant to be multiple things, it has to keep going. So now there's not just a high table, there's a guy above the high table.
He's the elder.
Right?
So
he's the elder.
So is he immortal? Did he form it like 1,000 years ago? Or
I did not even begin to understand 1 second of the elder shit. You go out in the desert and hang out, and he'll... When that dude rolled up on the camel to get John after he was about to pass out, Sarah watched this one with me, which, by the way, she's not watched any of the rest of them. I've been mentioning this. She hasn't been watching them along the way.
There's some
she
context.
watched this one with me, and I fully explained everything she needed to know as we were going along, so she wasn't lost on anything. That sequence happened, and she goes, so does that dude just go out into the desert every day like, nope, no assassins here this time. I'll just go back home and fuck myself, I guess. It's so goofy, man.
Also, the fact that John Wick goes to make amends, and the amends is basically, okay, and his reason for wanting to live is so he could remember her. What?
Okay, I'm so glad you brought this up, because I was going to at some point. Again, my wife, who has not seen any of these movies except this one, and I was kind of giving her the play-by-play as we go along. Okay, he did this, he's from here, here's what happened in the first one, here's what happened in the second one, etc. At that point, with only me having explained parts of the other movies, when he said, I want to live to remember her, she goes, why?
Yes.
Why wouldn't you just want to die to be with her?
Yes.
Yes. And I went, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. Because that seemed like what was going to happen in the first movie.
Yeah, of all the things that I had a problem with in this film, and I keep yelling over Steven. I want Steven to talk. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I'll also come.
Yeah, but I have to say this. Of all the things that I had a problem with in this movie, this is probably the biggest one. Because not only does he want to exist merely to suffer, but he's also going to go back to the life that he doesn't want and kill people again, which he, desperately wanted to get away from. And it's almost like, if you're so willing to do this, then why didn't you just do the fucking contract in the second movie and skip all of this? And you could have lived forever if you had killed one person. Now you got to kill another. How many was it down here? 94 in this film
94.
alone.
Somehow down from the previous film. This is the only time, by the way, that the body count goes down.
It's wild.
When we get into that last one, it's going to go way the fuck up. And at a certain point, I don't think John is the one killing all these people. I think it's the body count for the movie.
Well, Halle Berry did kill some people in this one very slowly.
Yes. She sure did. Her dogs, her fur missiles.
This is, to me, is the best example of when you talk about pro wrestling and you watch a good pro wrestler do it and then you watch me do it. I'm still doing it, but it's slow and you really got to kind of blur your vision to make sure that it looks correct. Steven,
get a couple beers in you before you
take a gummy. I will. Steven, what about you rewatching this versus what you remember from before? You told me you liked it more than 2, but how did you feel?
Definitely, I felt like you, like seeing in theater, that beginning was really strong, but that middle part when, he goes to the ballerina place and gets passage, that's when it slows down, and that's when I got fucking bored of the movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was, I enjoyed I forget the actor's name already. The assassin that the adjudicator hired.
Mark Dacascos.
Mark Dacascos.
Yes.
I didn't care for
the character name is the chef.
Yeah, because he was he serves and he will serve.
Yeah.
I didn't care for him at first time viewing, but watching it the second time, I did quite enjoy him. I fucking corny ass dialogue. I've kind of grown to accept that this movie's not actually good. It has fun action. The dialogue it's there to be corny and to be funny. That's how I have to watch these movies.
I liked the playfulness with Mark Dacascos because he was very playful in this film. He was probably my favorite part of the movie, and again, I know the character wasn't great, and I have some problems with it. I'm going to mention here in a second too. But his playful banter with John, I told Steven this. It was like Common, but with a personality. You know, they sat together at the couch, and he was like, "I'm your biggest fan. You haven't disappointed me." You know, it was fun.
You and me are alike, John.
We're not alike. And then they ruined the fun of it because the very end when he stabs him through with the sword and he says, I'll be okay, John. I just need to catch my breath. I'll catch up to you. And he just turns around and goes, "No, you won't." I was like, what? Why'd you have to say that, man? You ruined it.
Look, man, I like the idea of a character like this, and I'll give you that. I also appreciated that. Pretty much everything I complained about with Common's character in the previous one got rectified here. The guy has a personality. He's not just John Wick over. He does things differently.
And he's a great martial artist, too, in case you couldn't tell. But he did all of his own shit. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, watching the fights, in general, I will say watching the fights in this movie was more entertaining than the previous one.
I agree.
Sure. I still think I'd go back to the first one over all of them, but this one, I mean, from John throwing the knives in that early sequence to all the martial arts stuff at the very end, it's good. It's fun to watch in general. But there's just so many fucking logic gaps. John Wick goes through no fewer than 12 glass boxes in this sequence, or glass floors or ceilings or whatever they are. Also, when the last two lackeys have him dead to rights, they don't kill him. They just step up and go, "Oh, you know, we're big fans too." And then ultimately he ends up either killing or incapacitating them.
Yeah, he spares them.
But like,
why?
What are we doing?
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because earlier in that scene, one of the high table guards is about to shoot him, and Mark Dacascos kills him and says, "You only die. I get to kill you. You die by my blade." Well, then why are your two lackeys trying to kill him with swords?
Yeah,
that's not your blade.
It was so frustrating watching these. Mm-hmm. I mean, look. Mm-hmm. Again, when you write it this way, when you write yourself into a corner with a character who's practically unkillable, and that's the thing. In the first movie, it's fine to watch him kill 60, 70 people and show, "Oh yeah, he's fucking terrifying." We're 3 movies deep. He can't keep doing the exact same shit. He can't keep getting away with it.
Cars. So many cars gets hit by. Okay. Oh God, you unzip me, Doc. You unzip me. The part where they hit him with was it the second one where they hit him with multiple taxis and then they stopped the taxis and he just kind of crawled away while they watched. This one didn't have quite as bad of a logic. He still got hit by a car if I remember correctly, because got to have that obviously. But this, I told you this last night. The scene where they're on the bikes and they're chasing him. If one of them had brought a fucking gun instead of a samurai sword, but they're Asian, get it?
Anything.
They're Asian, so they have swords.
Or, because John even does this, don't ride right up beside him. Just stick your sword in his fucking spokes.
Yeah.
How many times does he upend somebody off of a bike where the thing that he's doing should completely throw him out of whack, and yet the moment they get even remotely, and I get it, he's the hero, it's an action movie, that's what's going to happen.
Sure.
But how much can we do before eventually you go, this is completely
ridiculous. He might as well be in the MCU at this point.
Yeah, that's the part that's driving me nuts. And you guys went against me on this last night, but now I'm going to bring it up. At the end of the movie, the motherfucker falls 3 stories off a building and doesn't die.
Nobody gets pissed off.
Bullshit.
He gets pissed off. Well, Hunter, it broke his fall. It broke his fall.
Oh, yeah. So he hits like metal awnings along the way or whatever. He still hits the fucking ground. After going through, again, this is at the end of the movie. This is the last thing that happens to him. So going through, like, again, 12 plate glass, whatever the fuck those display boxes are, after getting hit by cars, after getting shot, after getting things broken,
stabbed,
and he's still alive. I shit you not. When Lawrence Fishburne is talking to him and says that about, "Oh, you pissed off, John?" Sarah literally goes, "Yeah," and he turns around and goes, "Yeah," and she goes, "Oh, what the fuck?"
You know what would have been a better ending to that if he had said, "Are you pissed off, John?" and he just looks up at him and the movie ends. It would have been better. Just cut it off.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it, it would have been better that way.
Yeah. It still is just blatantly fucking ridiculous that he's still alive.
Yes. Well, like you said, this is Harry Potter for Justin Smart.
Yeah, he can't die.
Yeah.
He can't die. No, that's the problem. Is again, you painted yourself into a corner. This guy is, and I get it, man. Some people are they can go above and beyond, and they can do things other people can't do. And I was fine with seeing that
to this point.
in the first movie, the way it played out. But with the time, again, logically, with the time frame that's played out, Steven, what has it been? About 2 weeks in universe in these 3 movies?
Like 2 weeks.
Give or take. This is definitely like within a week of the second one.
Well, no, because Thunder, he got patched up. The Asian guy patched him up, and then he told John to shoot him.
He halfway stitched him. Honestly, I liked that sequence. I liked that at least that was maybe one of my favorite sequences in the movie, because the guy was telling him, like, there's no way I'm going to finish this in time. Do what you can do. Then the time cuts out, and he's like, all right, well, we got to do something to cover our traces here.
I told you where the medicine was, so you got to have to shoot me.
And I actually really loved, one of the things I loved that was a good display of what John is capable of doing is where the doctor is, halfway across the room and going, just make sure you don't, and before he even finishes, John hits him exactly where he points.
Yeah, because he's an assassin.
That to me is like,
he's a pinpoint assassin.
That's a really cool way. Like, when I'm watching the best movie Assassin, I'm seeing that he can kill people faster and in ways other people can't before they can kill him. I'm not seeing him absorb the kind of punishment that would kill 10 men, not just one. Now, that's patently ridiculous.
I will say, I think the final, the part where they invade the Continental, I think maybe the best sequence of all 3 films. I really think so. I liked it a lot.
I couldn't get into that, and here's the problem. By then, the movie was so fucking long that I was done.
Oh, can I tell you why?
I just was not interested in why, because I knew that wouldn't be the end of it either, by the way. You knew it was going to go into the martial arts stuff. You knew there was more coming after that. I was like, oh, God, now we got to watch Continental lackeys die against the other lackeys, and then John's... Also, I'm sorry,
why
real
did
quick,
they fight
I know you
those
got to
guys?
think here. How is John capable of killing the guys in the body armor, but the other guys aren't? He has the same weapons. Yeah. He has a fucking pistol. What is he doing different?
Well, so he is using the power of Wittgenstein.
and
I thought for sure you were going to say the power of myth. We see
the power of Lance Riddick being his best friend.
Yes, I do like the fact. So I liked that Lance Riddick got to do something other than just stand behind the desk. That was cool. And when he walks in and grabs the shotgun and he's all serious and he's no longer like polite, I was like, I like that a lot.
That's cool.
But why he sent his guys in there against armored men to stand directly in front of them and get shot?
Bullet sponges.
Yeah. That's my problem with the film. The series as overall, I think, is eventually it becomes a video game. You're playing Call of Duty now. You're just running through levels, killing everybody.
Oh,
and I know
wait for the
God damn you! God damn you!
I know that an action movie doesn't like this kind of logic either, but every person that dies in these movies is a real person. Like, if we're expected to accept the logic of the universe, and these are people. Who the fuck signs up for the job where it's like, hey, you're in a suit and tie. I need you to buy time for John Wick. You're definitely going to die.
Yeah.
Why?
And it's a sacrifice he is willing to make.
Exactly. Why?
Except for Winston. Winston gets to stay back in the goddamn vault drinking.
Right, with the dog.
Get your ass.
A snifter of brandy.
Get your ass out here and grab a gun, boy. I'm not going to. Oh, and also.
At the end.
The logic of John Wick sacrificing his life to rejoin the guild or whatever, going to kill Winston, and all it took to convince him not to do it was him going like, well, I'd rather be shot by a friend, but I'm not going to step down. How about you, John? Yeah. Like, that's all it took? Wow. The Adjudicator may be the worst character in the entire series. There was no part of me that enjoyed her at all. Like, I get you're supposed to dislike her, but her dislike was on a level that is like high above anyone else in this franchise. She was so obnoxious. She was so annoying. It was X-Pac heat for you wrestling fans. It wasn't like heel heat. And she's not in the fourth one, so she never gets her comeuppance, despite being a total bitch.
Like, not to be a dick about it, but I don't think I've ever seen this actor in anything else. Asia Kate Dillon is her name.
No idea who it was.
It looks like she's only in like a couple other movies. She's just not a good actor. That's why you don't like her. I mean, I can just say it outright. Well, apparently, she had a recurring role in Orange is the New Black, which I straight up don't remember. Even though we watched that entire series.
My other problem with this franchise as a whole is there's so many stereotypes and there are so many just I don't know the correct term for it in my head right now, but the fact that all the operators kind of dress the same and act the same when they're there, all the Asian martial artists are martial artists. Everybody is everything at the same time, and they never differ. And the adjudicator is supposed to be that super bookworm, like lawyer style, who has no personality outside of she's the adjudicator.
She is she in D&D terms, she's lawful evil, right? She exists to do bad things, but she only does it by a code.
Yeah,
and she'll
well,
only
what
do it
separates
the way
them from
that
the
this
animals,
works.
Hunter.
You mentioned yeah, and I called this out in the second one. A lot of the stuff that happens in this movie is done for the sake of looking cool without any logic behind it. Case in point, the whole switchboard setup for the Continental would be great if the point was we don't want to send our systems or our messages digitally so they can't be tracked, except they then just send them to fucking cell phones, so what difference does it make? But the moment they showed that room for more than 3 seconds, Sarah goes, well, there's the writer's barely disguised fetish, women in pencil skirts and sleeveless blouses. And like immediately I was like, yep. Every single one of them looks exactly the same.
Is
That's
that
because
the
someone
uniform?
likes that.
Like, when you
someone
get,
likes that and thought it looked cool.
And how do you get that job? Where do you apply? Because you're not an assassin.
They're covered in tattoos. No,
Yeah.
you're not an assassin. Are you a retired assassin? Is that how that goes?
Are you the son of an assassin or daughter? Like, I don't know. And the whole Halle Berry thing where she's like, I got this job, I can't go against it, or bad things will happen to me. So then she shoots the guy and has her dog bite into his junk and walks away. Nothing else said about it.
Well, that character, the one who runs like the foundry or whatever it is. By the way, the guy is played, I can't think of the actor's name, but he plays Sir Bronn of the Blackwater in Game of Thrones. And I love that actor, but he's also very Scottish. And the whole time he's trying to do that kind of Mediterranean accent, boy, you can hear that Scottish trying to come out. But he's another, for us anyway, because we've never met this character, he's another faceless, scary guy because he's very calm and he's got a story to tell. We did this already,
he
man.
Shoots the dog,
we did this,
but at least they didn't didn't redo it, you know.
Yeah, we did this with the main villain in the first movie, not the kid, but the dad. We did this with D'Antonio in the second one. Every one of these movies has to have a guy who's
elder,
too slick for his own good, who's going to get his comeuppance. Well, the elder was a little bit different because he's never get his comeuppance.
Well, because he's eternal. I'm pretty sure he is a Arabian spirit.
I don't understand why John cut his finger off. I didn't understand any of that sequence at all.
Well, that was Hunter. He was paying his penance. He cut the finger off. That was his.
And how does that? I mean, doesn't it make him worse as an assassin? Don't they want him to come back and be an assassin? Okay, I get that Assassin's Creed did this really cool thing where you cut that ring finger off, and the blade comes there, and that's why you do that. It has a functional purpose. In this case, it was just, you pissed me off, now cut your finger off, the one that holds your wedding ring, and leave that shit behind. But that functionally makes him a worse assassin. You can't be as good with your hands if you're missing a fucking finger.
Well, he's basically just Darth Vader. They had to nerf him so that other people had a chance.
It didn't work.
Again,
I said it had a chance.
This is coming from the people who, like, their whole thing is, we want you back in the system. The
Doing
whole
what
deal,
you do best.
Yeah, it's all predicated on, okay, we're going to forgive everything that you've done, but that means you come back and work for us. That is one of the most logical things that's happened in these series in a while. Now, to be fair, there's also a problem with that, right? Because the guy who is ready to kill every one of you, you're going to let him back in? You're going to let him have access to all your shit?
Hey, what's up, John? Sorry about earlier.
I mean, this happens in fucking Hamlet. I'm not going to get into it. I want to really badly.
Do not bring Hamlet into this conversation.
Not in that mode right now. But the same shit happens. This is Shakespeare, right? If it was done well, and honestly, I would really like that. If that's what the fourth movie was, maybe I need to save this for the epilogue. But if that's what the fourth movie was, I would be interested. I suspect that it is not.
I wish that when he cut the finger off and took the ring off and handed it to him, the elder would have just been like, we only wanted your wedding ring. Why did you cut your finger off?
I want 3 more seconds of whatever that guy does out there all day. It just sitting in that tent, just waiting to make deals with wayward assassins.
Yeah.
Yeah, the adjudicator to put a button on it.
You're going to have an issue with the opening of the fourth movie.
Oh, good.
God.
Wonderful. And then I'll have another 3 hours to go afterward.
I think we've gotten angry enough. Let's get to the reviews. I'll do it. On this show, of course, we have a 5-point system inspired by the grades. 2 thumbs up means you love it. 1 up, you like it. 1 up, 1 down, you're indifferent or neutral. 1 down, you don't like it. 2 down, you hate it. Famously, very few films have made it to the double hate. Most recently being still Mario Brothers, I think.
Yeah. Yes.
The 1993 Mario Brothers, Bob Hoskins. And most recently, I think the most recent double up was Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles. That was the only Mel Brooks one that got double up across the board, yes.
Yeah. So, where will John Wick Chapter 3 fall on the spectrum? Is this the film that finally pushes him into the thumbs down or even double down? Or will he redeem himself and make amends and cut his finger off and then hand me his wedding ring? Let's find out. As we're going to start with Steven, of course.
Of course. Like I said, I enjoyed it more than the second one. Definitely some leaps of logic, but as I mentioned earlier, I'm not watching this movie for the fucking Shakespeare. I am here to watch some bad guys get shot up, no matter how stupid the logic is. I like Keanu Reeves. I like, Ian...
McShane.
McShane, yeah. Ian McShane.
Would have been as good if it was Ian McKellen.
Lance Reddick. Yeah.
Or better.
I'll say McKellen. It's like, nope, that's not right. But, I will give this 1 thumbs up. It still hasn't beaten the first movie, but definitely way better than the second movie. In my opinion, I wasn't bored for the majority of it. The middle part can definitely been trimmed down, but strong beginning, strong ending for me.
Watch that thumb. They might have you cut it off. Pay tribute.
That's a handicap.
So last night, before you got on, Hunter, I was talking to Steven and I said, I think I'm going to give this 2 thumbs up because I really enjoyed it that much. I'm sober now, and I'd like to tell you why I thought that way. So yesterday was another busy day at the store because that's all we have now. And when I got off, I was delayed getting home because Jesse stopped by and he brought me some more cards for Final Fantasy, which I truly appreciated. Thank you, Jesse. And I got home a little bit late, so I couldn't watch the entire thing. And I was in so much pain. I don't know if it's just post-surgery or what, but like it hurt everywhere. There was a pain between my shoulders that radiated through my chest, through my arms. Every part of me hurt. I was hurting so bad. I put the heating pad on my back and I sat there and watched it. I knew I couldn't do anything because I had to go pick up Lindsay. So I forget where I got to before I had to go pick her up, but it was definitely before the Continental stuff. So I go to pick her up. We come home. I still have that bottle of Japanese whiskey, which is very strong. I take it. I take a glass. I set it next to me, and I pour glass after glass of that whiskey as I watch it. By the time the movie's over, I'm not plastered, but I'm pretty tipsy. And I loved the ending sequence so much with all the fighting and with Mark Dacascos and with Winston and all that I was like, I fucking love this. This is fucking great. Well, I'm sober now, and I've had time to think it over. I'm not going to give this film 2 thumbs up, but I am going to give it 1 thumb up because I also like this more than the second one, but I didn't like it as much as the first one. It's definitely more colorful and flashier than both previous ones, and there were things I really liked. I liked Mark Dacascos. I liked the idea of him being against everybody. I liked Winston in this movie. He was a lot of fun. Lance Reddick's character was a lot of fun in this. There's a lot of good things to be had, but that, I agree with Steven, that middle part just drops it a thumb to me because it is so nonsensical, such a waste of time. I have to go to Halle Berry. I have to go to Angelica Houston to get to Halle Berry, to get to this dude, to get to the Magic Man of the Desert, to go back to New York, to kill my mentor. Like, it's so long. And like, could he call him? Could he just call the Elder and say, hey? Like,
no, they don't have phones out there in the desert where he appears to spend all of his time.
It's like Mario. It's the Desert Kingdom. He's got his carpets and it's great. But if that middle part wasn't so long and just kind of ridiculous and boring, I think I might have given it 2 thumbs up because I think the final sequence with the Continental is my favorite part of the series. It legitimately to me was a lot of fun. I love the fights. I did, even though it didn't make sense when the assassins were trying to kill him and they didn't, and they were just like, oh, John Wick, he's so slow. Well, he's still John Wick. Let's see. It was fun. Like, it was the banter between the assassins and him, the banter between him and Mark Dacascos and their fights, it was all fun. Like, you could tell they were having fun making this. And I like that. I think that helped it. And then the final stuff with Winston, with the betrayal, other than him falling that far and surviving, and the adjudicator could just kick rocks and eat dirt for all I care. If I'd never have to see that shrill shrew again, I won't be sad. But everything else I enjoyed. I thought the beginning was good. Keanu Reeves is still great as John Wick, even if the writing it's getting dumber as it goes along, and they think they're making it smarter by putting in more intricate details, but the intricate details don't make sense, or they're so outrageous that you have to go, okay, like you said, Hunter, I get this is a movie, but come on. They took a good idea, a good concept, and now they've drawn it out so long that they've made it ridiculous, and I am scared to see what happens in part 4. But for part 3, I did enjoy it more than part 2. I thought it was fun. I am going to give it 1 thumb up. If I had to go a little higher or lower, it might go a little bit higher, but just a tad. But it's not anywhere near 2 thumbs up, as Tipsy Shannon said, and he really needs to calm down. Let's go to Hunter.
This is frustrating because, look, when we use a 5-point system, there's always gradations, and we talk about this all the time. I'm on, this side of this one, or I'm a little closer to lower than above. Just going back here, and I'm trying not to do too much in the way of comparison. I gave the first movie 1 thumb up. And that was kind of on the low end of 1 thumb up because I didn't love it, but I at least appreciated the concept and the execution. I gave the second movie right down the middle, 1 up, 1 down, because I liked it less, and I didn't really love it, but I also didn't think it was functionally bad. It was just kind of goofy. I'm really torn on this movie because you guys have already said it, and I will acquiesce to this up front. I liked this movie more than I liked the second one. No, that's not true. I was more entertained by this movie than I was the second one, by parts of this movie. We've talked about it a couple times now. The intro is pretty good, which is what I thought most of the movie was going to be, was just John trying to just dodge assassins around New York. Frankly, if that's what it had been fine. We didn't even talk about this, but I was just reading through some of the quotes because I'm already trying to come up with an ending here. Angelica Houston's character, the director, says, "Your ticket is torn. You may never return home." John returns home about 70 minutes later in the movie. So apparently, there are too many clandestine organizations now and too many people. It's bigger and stupider than it's ever been.
Who works for who at this point?
Right. And look, the fights themselves are better in this movie, which is why I think my instinct was to say I liked it better. Because at the end of the day, this movie is about everybody kung fu fighting and martial arts and gunfights, close quarters combat, and really all the other trappings are mostly now poorly done. 3 movies in, none of it makes sense. Nobody knows who responds to who. There's coins, there's markers, there's way too much little rosaries. There's way too much little stuff in there. All of that has gotten absolutely goofy. Where before it was like, okay, this is a lot, but I can tolerate it. It's gotten to be way too much. Is the fighting better in this movie than the previous one? Yes. And I think that's why ultimately I'm going to give it the exact same score, and I'm going to land on 1 up, 1 down. I didn't hate this movie, and I didn't dislike it enough to edge toward down. I will say that if I had to be on the spectrum of 1 up, 1 down, it's definitely leaning more down than up. But I don't functionally think it's a bad movie, assuming you've seen the others and you know the character and you understand it and where it's going, but it's way too long. The mythology has gotten completely out of hand, and the only thing that's carrying this series now are the people in it to a certain degree. Again, gradations of that as well. And the actual fighting, which again, it's directed by a guy who did this his entire career. So of course the fighting is amazing, and you've got good people doing it. Mm-hmm. That's not going to be enough to carry it through another movie for me. That is where I have officially tapped out. So if 4 is as bad as it keeps being hinted as it's going to be, I might have a real bad fucking time in a couple of weeks here.
Salivating right now.
Yeah, if it's that one, again, one of my chief complaints is that these movies literally keep getting longer. They never get shorter. From the first one on, the run times keep going up. I've already been made well aware that, again, that fourth movie is almost 3 hours long, which is absolute insanity to me. There's no way that people fist fighting and gunfighting is going to be that entertaining for 3 hours.
It cannot be just filled with fights and gunfights. It can't. There has to be more.
No, and that's what worries me, because one thing we're all agreeing on here is that the middle part of this movie is the worst part. That's where very little of the fighting happens.
That's true.
That's where there's a lot of talk about bullshit and just reasons to get John back to New York where he's not being regularly attacked by assassins. They wrote themselves. It reminds me of, this is such an old time reference. You guys remember that old newspaper cartoon, The Family Circus?
Yeah.
And there was that kid, I think his name was Billy, and sometimes the cartoon would just be like a little dash line of showing how he got from point A to point B, but instead of just like going from, home to school or whatever, it would show like he went to the playground and he looped around this and he went there. That's this movie. That's what's happening here. It takes so fucking long to get back to where they wanted it to be in the first place, because of a problem they wrote for themselves. If you want John to just fight assassins in New York, why do we need to ever go to another country for that?
Right.
Because nothing that happens there is entertaining enough to justify it, especially not an already bloated runtime. 2 hours and 10 minutes is not a crazy long movie. It is when your movie's about kung fu fighting. So... yeah. I cannot go any higher than One Up, One Down, and frankly, I think I'm being generous with that personally. I really kind of want to land on One Down, but I'm going to say
save it for
One
four.
Up, One Down, with an edge toward down. I'm firmly no longer really enjoying most of this movie, and that's my real concern.
I have a vision in my head of Hunter watching part 4, and he's shining his thumbs to get him ready. He's putting some wax on him. And what scares me is I'm worried I might do the same, because even though I was also more entertained by this, boy, we're a long way from John Wick 1. Mm-hmm. We're a long way from what they established.
To the point that I almost want to rewatch the first one when this is all done and see if I can like reevaluate it, because maybe I like it more than I did the first time. Because I think back on it now, and the things I liked about the first one are still there. I would still definitely give it a firm single thumb up at least.
It was such a simple story of revenge, of an assassin that they pissed off, that he's the best assassin they got. So it makes sense that he's killing these lesser thugs, right? But now you're dealing with other assassins, and also the High Table, and the Adjudicator, and the Bowery King. Just turn it into an MMO, and let me make my own John Wick, and have him run around and beat people up like that. I'm worried about part 4, but I hope they turn it around. Steven, you haven't watched it yet, right? I mean, you've seen it before. No. You haven't. You've seen part 4 before.
I haven't rewatched it. No.
Okay.
No.
I want to get your and mark this down, people listening. Steven, if you had to say from what you remember, did you like part 4 before you rewatch it?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. I thought it was the best one.
Okay, so
but that's coming from a mind of I was going in for the action.
Right. You weren't critiquing.
I wasn't critiquing. I wasn't there to, what new bit of lore are they gonna reveal? No, that shit's dumb. I'm there to watch Keanu Reeves fucking shoot people in the face.
So we've established now a spectrum where previous Steven, or as I like to call him, Previon really loved it. Pat Kennedy said it was... Yeah?
I prefer Stevious, but that's okay. Go ahead.
The Previon.
Yeah.
Pat Kennedy said it's bad. Where will we fall on the spectrum? I'm curious to see where that is, and of course that'll be next week with special guest Zach Kurgis coming on for the last bit. So this should be fun. Let's get to the epilogues real quick, which we've talked about a whole bunch here, but just in case. Upon returning to New York, John is attacked by Zero and his students before reaching the protection of the Continental. The Adjudicator arrives. I hate that name for such a stupid fucking... But Winston refuses to abdicate, and John refuses to kill him, because all it took was him going, It was the Simpsons thing where Mrs. Krabappel goes, "Come on." All the taxes.
All the taxes, the hand thing.
The finger thing means the taxes.
Leading the Adjudicator to revoke the Continental's neutral status and send both Zero and an army of heavily armed High Table enforcers to kill John and Winston. Winston provides John with weapons and the assistance of concierge Sharon and his staff. After killing all the enforcers, Zero and his students ambush John. John proceeds to kill all but 2. Why he left them alive makes no sense. Zero battles John, but is eventually defeated and left to die. On the roof of the Continental, the adjudicator agrees to a parley with Winston, who offers allegiance to the High Table. Alright, so we didn't talk about that, but let's just discuss that for a second. So the whole point of Winston stalling out was to show his strength. I think she was right when she said you were just showing your strength so you could keep control of the Continental. But if you're this High Table, and this dude has killed a bunch of your people, defied your orders, etc., and you have the ability to take him out, to take over, all you have to do is send another wave or 2 of what seems to be endless men that you grow in a fucking lab.
She literally said that this was an amuse-bouche, which is a appetizer. She said this first group that came through was an appetizer. Like, we'll keep doing this, and we can keep doing it forever.
So why did she agree to his terms? They get nothing from this.
Because they forgot to rewrite that scene with the next writer they brought in.
God damn you. John arrives. And that's another thing, when she says, well, what do we do about him? What do we do about John Wick? Like he's not in the room, you bitch. And they could have Winston probably could have just as easily said, he wants out, let's just let him live his life peacefully and we'll call it a day.
He got what he wanted.
Yeah.
He got what he wanted so long ago.
Right. But instead, Winston shoots him, and he falls to the street below. Winston reassumes his position, and the severely injured John is secretly delivered to the Bowery King in an underground bunker, and the 2 agree to join forces against the High Table. Because, a bunch of homeless people and pigeons are going to do a great job against the eternal armies of the desert.
They're assassins too. Hey, I didn't bring it up this time, but I'm going to do it fucking now. What the fuck did these people do except kill each other?
That's it.
Who did they assassinate?
Assassins.
We have not, in one time in 3 movies, I'm going to put together the runtime of all 3 of these movies. In 3 movies, I've not seen any of these people kill anyone who's not another assassin that's part of their organization.
And most of the time it's John Wick they're trying to kill, and he's killing them.
Yeah. Yes.
What's that fat sumo guy from Part 2 doing when he's not killing people? He could have worked out.
Oh my god.
Also, the NBA player at the beginning, as cool as the scene was, that big lanky motherfucker holding John at arm's length like a little kid. That's fine.
The first thing that Sarah saw was John looking through that, or one of the first things is him looking through that book, and she goes, "Oh, it's just in a book anybody could get, huh? That's just up there on the shelves in the New York Public Library where thousands of people go every day. Surely no one will open that book at random. No idea how long it's been there."
Also, again, no cops, because they literally have bikers driving down the street, stabbing each other, being slammed into stuff. Yeah. And no cops get called. They have a fight in, I guess it was another subway. I honestly forget. There's school children there or something because they stopped fighting for it. And he's just stabbing people and slitting throats in front of them, and no one reacts.
So if there was one really fun part of this thing for me, a lot of the places they went are where we went in New York. That's Grand Central Station is where they were. How many
people did you see get killed by assassins while you were there?
Well, none, because they're so good at what they do.
They're very good at doing it in broad daylight in front of everyone.
Where no one apparently notices.
Oh, my God. All right, so where do you take it from here? Well, again, this is easy. We have one more movie. And then after John Wick 4, we could do a proper epilogue and explain where the series should go. I'm assuming Hunter's going to say to the fire.
I will say really quick, this is what I was and I think I've got this all right. I was trying to remember something from earlier because I almost went down a path and I'm like, no, that would be kind of an epilogue. It's not really an epilogue to this movie as it is, because the way it ends is patently fucking stupid. Again, John Wick should be dead 1,000 times fucking dead.
Yeah.
But had we not gone through with that ending sequence, number one, the logical one is just you ended at 3, and Winston says, look, he wants out, just let him get out, let him get out and be done, and we never have to do any of this again. However, another version of that could have just been Winston doing exactly what they said from before. The whole reason this guy literally, he just points at him, talking to the adjudicator, and goes, this guy literally went to the Elder. You ever met the Elder? Probably not. All right. So this guy went through hell and high water to get to the Elder. The Elder said, you're back in. We do this thing, you're back in. Well, he didn't kill me to do that thing, but he fought tooth and nail to keep that from being the case.
He proved his strength.
Yeah, bring him back in. All we have to do is bring him back into the fold, and that's it. And of course, she's suspicious and doesn't want to do it, but hey, it means that we don't have to kill thousands of other people that now we've got to clean up and hide IDs for and somehow not let the feds know that these people are gone. So they do it. And then instead of it being John and the fucking Bowery King, which again is so random, instead of that being, we're going to go back and we're going to get him and Winston's a turncoat, blah, 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 just have it be Winston just throws him a wink. Right before then. Cool. The fourth movie is about the two of them bringing this whole thing down from the inside and them getting people onto their side slowly. The Bowery King, whoever else is still alive, the director, all these other people, get them all. And then it's all out war of the characters that we actually enjoy and have come to meet and know and love. Leguizamo gets to come back since we didn't get to see him in this one. Yeah, he's
on this one.
It's a bummer. Yeah, get them all involved in some form or fashion. And then it's all out war against the faceless, army of the High Table or whatever.
And then you bring in a big action star to be the lead of the High Table. Someone like a Schwarzenegger.
Somebody above the elder again.
Right.
Yeah. And again, I know at this point we're just doing the Expendables, but look, if we're going to be big and stupid, let's be big and stupid about it.
Yes. I have a suggestion.
That's what I would have wanted to see, but it's not going to happen.
If I could have redone the ending, if we're just playing the ending game, I would have cut it off at the gunshots. I would have had the ending be them on the roof and her saying, "What do we do about him?" And Winston saying, "Oh, him? Well, he just has to die." He turns the gun, he shoots John Wick black, and you leave the audience with what just happened. Now you're confused because you think Lawrence Fishburne's dead, and then when you do part 4, you get the big reveal that he's still alive. Oh, wow. Yes. You get the question of, well, what just happened to John Wick? Remember Empire Strikes Back? When Han Solo was frozen in carbonite, he's taken off by the bad guys. He had the bleak ending. Now imagine how good that ending would have been if he's frozen in carbonite, but then the movie goes another 20 minutes where Luke gets him back, and then they go to Return of the Jedi. No, it would have been better to leave the audience mystified and wanting more.
Yeah, and on top of that, and look, I don't know anything about this fourth movie any more than what I've already put in the notes. And again, I just copy the last paragraph and move on. A large portion of this fourth movie, and I know it would piss off the audience, John needs to be out of commission. If he's even going to be halfway fucking alive, he needs to be out of commission for a large portion of that movie. Or there needs to be a major time skip of, he was out and down and out for months at a time in traction. There's no fucking way he's alive. But as an action star, I'll let some of it slide, assuming that he gets a lot of fucking recovery time and that there's some permanent injuries there.
And you could have started part 4 off with the opening being that rooftop scene. They shoot John Wick and leave him for dead. Maybe he doesn't fall 3 stories or whatever. Maybe they just shoot him and leave him for dead somewhere. And he's not dead. He's clinging to life. The Bowery King still rescues him. That's when you realize he's alive. And then you do have a montage where it's a month, maybe 2 months of John Wick recovering. Everyone thinks he's dead. And then you have him go back to get revenge against these people, stronger than ever, and building an army. That's what should happen. But it's not. It's going to be one day later, John Wick is at full strength.
If the MCU was at a time when they were still kind of taking bold stances and making brave choices, if they were brave enough to throw a 5-year skip in there that they've now had to address in every fucking movie ever since the biggest one they ever made, you can do it here when there's only one more to go.
Right. You could have called it 1 year later, or John Wick, 12 months of vengeance, or my dogs are barking or something like that. I don't know.
I think that's Halle Berry's spinoff. It's called My Dogs Are Barking.
Halle Berry and fur missiles from the world of John Wick.
I think she did that one before her career started, if I remember correctly.
Now, with that said, there is a part in this film, if you're watching, if you've seen Ballerina or you've watched the clip like I have, the part where the director tells them to get John Passage or whatever, that is in Ballerina takes place between the two films, and that's the setup. Is she sees him being let out and she talks, because John Wick is in Ballerina, so that is where Ballerina takes place within the timeline, apparently. I actually do want to watch Ballerina. I'm excited to watch Chapter 4 because I want to see it. I think Ballerina looks fun. From what I've heard, it's good. I'm hoping because they're starting over with a new character, we avoid a lot of the goddamn horse shit that they put on John Wick at this point. But we'll see what happens. And what is that show you guys said was on? Because I forgot it existed.
Continental.
I kind of want to go check it out. Is Lance Reddick in it?
I have no idea. All I know is that it exists.
I think it's
know
a full-on
like
prequel, like back in 18 or 1900s.
Shit. All right, I'll have to check that out. Well,
yeah, it's like way before.
But for now,
it's a neo-noir crime drama. I almost said crime, and it's in the 1970s.
Cool.
Is when it takes
Not
place.
that far back then.
I would have liked to see
Mel
the
Gibson
1800s.
is in it.
Oh, never mind.
Oh,
God damn it! Is Tim Allen in there too?
Lance Reddick is not in it, and the only name I recognize just off the top here is Mel Gibson. So they really just hung their hats on that guy of all people.
Okay. Well, that's going to do it for us tonight. We hope you enjoyed last night's live stream of Night Rain, where me and Steven and Jesse conquered the monsters. Because Steven, when they hear this,
don't
that
promise
will have,
anything.
That will have happened.
Don't promise anything you can't guarantee is going to happen.
I read to unlock the character I want, which is the Duchess, you have to beat the first boss. But if you fail, there's a chance you can get the item to still unlock her. So the goal on Night Rain Day 1 on Tuesday when we play it, which has already happened, is unlocking the Duchess, which I did probably. So this will be a lot of fun for you guys have seen. All right. And then tomorrow it's an all new After Dark without Hunter. So we'll see how that goes. If it's anything like this week, it'll just be me drinking and crying. So here we go.
Maybe that night, maybe I'll pop in for a little cameo. Depending on the timing, I might be able to do that. I think I'm going a time zone ahead of you, but it'll be okay.
We'll see what horse shit we endure for that day. All right. Until then, the balcony is closed. Steven, one more week, and then we'll let you go until maybe we'll do a special. Whoa!
What are you saying?
Whoa! We'll do a special episode with on Ballerina if you watch it and I watch it, and maybe we can get Zach Kirkus to watch it or something.
I'll be down.
But that'll be in the future. Until then, balcony's closed. Thank you guys. We'll see you tomorrow for an all new After Dark. Hunter, take us out.
Well, since you see it that way, I guess it's time I told you to climb down off your high table and go fuck yourself.